You're very welcome for coming in. There's just a few points that I want to raise as well, so I'll probably keep the questions quick enough as well. I'm just wondering, who is the responsibility for the allocation of bus stops? Is it yourselves or is it local authorities? That's probably just a very yourself in one answer. Yeah.
It wouldn't be ourselves, other than, I suppose, assessing particular locations from a road safety perspective.
And how does that work? Like, this comes up a lot with me, saying it seems to be putting back to you, or it goes back to the local authority. So we'll say if there's a request for a bus stop in an area, who makes the final decision with that? Is it the local authority or is it yourself?
It should be the local authority.
Local authority. And just on the Greenways, I suppose, like I live in the northwest, so the SLNCR is obviously a big, it's one of the potential greenways and the ones that have been looked at. There's a lot of concern, and I've met loads of different people, individuals and groups around it, and there is a lot of concern that even then when they meet the PLOs, that the PLOs seems to be fobbing them off maybe and going back to Arab, like the bug. I suppose the landowners feel that they're not being listened to, despite engaging with the local PLOs, and despite that, they want to engage and they want to have some negotiation around that. If on the old railway isn't working, and they're very willing to have other parcels of their land used, but they just seem to be feeling frustrated that they're not actually being listened to. And I suppose what a lot of the landowners that I've met have said, that they become, I suppose, so kind of disconnected with it, or maybe fed up, I would call it, that they don't feel that, is there in the review, could there be a full structured budget-led approach? Like, they're not sure that there's an awful lot of stress being caused, an awful lot of worry, and then they're looking at the estimates for the whole 60 greenways and they don't seem to be sinking. Are the budgets realistic for what is being planned for the greenways overall? So that's just one question. And I suppose, from your opinion, do you think that your level of engagement with landowners, or your level of flexibility with landowners is adequate? Although, like, everyone wants to see greenways up, and particularly around our area, which we could badly do with the tourism and for cross border, in terms of, I suppose, relationships. But like, it seems to me that there's unnecessary lack of flexibility coming from, I don't know if it's from Arab, and then that the PLOs aren't actually engaging like they should be.
Yeah, okay. Well, I think the kind of flexibility that you're talking about is exactly what hopefully the overall review will identify over the next while. And I think, ultimately these projects are local authority led, and I would like to think certainly that there is open engagement with landowners, and that there is a fair
but they're saying that it's going back
to
Arab again, that they're saying that the PLOs are engaging with them, but then that there doesn't seem to be taking responsibility, that it's saying this is going back to Arab. Like, who? And I suppose my question would be, are the budgets, is it realistic that these are going to be delivered within your budgets?
So we have about 60 million a year for Greenways. So if you were to look at every potential Greenway project in the country, 60 million a year is going to take a long time.
It's a drop in the ocean
to eat into that. But having said that, there are a number of projects that I think merit progressing, and then obviously through to construction. So we have to manage the budget as we would under any other area of activity across TII, in terms of prioritising those projects that I suppose
can you tell people
present.
Then, sorry for cutting across you, Lord, but can you tell people then, are there landowners going through unnecessary stress, even though it mightn't even come out that these are actually going to be delivered at all?
Well, I think obviously when you're talking about individual land parcels, that is very personal, and I couldn't deny that it wouldn't cause some stress. But I think where we are coming up with a potential preferred route and narrowing down further, there is a greater clarity around what sort of land take might be required. The precise timing of that can be difficult to estimate early on in the process, but we would certainly be trying to be as open and transparent as we could be. But it is ultimately, it's so when I say we, the local authority in progressing those projects.
Are the budgets that have been allocated for Greenways unrealistic to the scale of the ambition?
I suppose that will be considered as part of the strategy review.
Okay.
As well, so the strategy review is looking like, we do believe there are lessons to come out of all of this.
Yeah.
So the strategy is looking at those, looking at the whole programme as well. So the opportunity and through the strategy review is there to look at the way things are delivered.
That structured budget
Yeah,
led.
so that is happening, but it's happening at the moment.
And when is the review due to be published?
It's going to take the strategy. The initial publication is towards the end of the year. It takes time to have that engagement, to give people the opportunity.
And and there's other very positive engagement.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just focusing on some of the kind of concerns that have come up with me. But you know,
no, it will take time. And there's a lot of things to look at here as well, you know. So,
but the end of the year, you think
it will include looking at the overall programme, among other things, you know,
and realistic budgets.
Like it may be necessary to break schemes down, things like that. There may be, you know, there's a number of things to look at, and I don't want to, you know, it's going to happen. We're going to look at all of that.
Thanks a million. And just, I've only a minute left, and I'm just wondering about, like, I suppose you probably saw the primetime programme last night about road safety and the lack of, like, even with the ambitious plan to have the amount of cameras that are in the strategy, that it's nowhere near going to meet what should be. How would your thoughts on that report? Did you see the prime time last night?
I didn't actually see that programme yesterday evening, but I think, as we mentioned in our introductory statement, there is a new national camera road safety strategy that was published in April, and together with the National Transport Authority, we are on an implementation group really to look to try and advance that strategy as best as possible. And I think, you know, you do need, as you say, the rollout of a sufficient or a critical mass of cameras to drive that change in driver behaviour. So I think in terms of where it wants to get to, yes, it is, but I think we need to start moving quickly on that and to make it visible. Yeah.
And thank you for giving us such a broad outline, you know, of where the developments of all the different projects are. And I suppose I'm just going to concentrate on the three that are in my local area. And our local government ministers have given assurances that, you know, these are committed under the programme for government. So the first one is the Carrigan-Shannon bypass. The second one is the N17 Knock-to-Clooney, and the third one is the Eastern Garvoe Bridge. So I'm just wondering, I just ask about the first one, I suppose, is the bypass, and is that on track? Is that actually on track? Because I know there was concern maybe that the Western Development Commission kind of said that they weren't sure. The Northwest Regional Assembly said they weren't sure whether it was going to be on track. Is it due that procurement's 2027 commenced 2028? And I'm just, from your notes, I was just wondering how come there isn't an internal, deeper timeline on it?
First of all, we are on track, and it is due to go in for planning approval. We've gotten the initial documentation into us, so we're reviewing that at the moment before it'll go. It would be sub-threshold as far as I know, so the decision on approval to go to planning would rest, won't require government approval.
Okay.
So we're on track to get the gate approval done this year and apply for planning.
Okay, and so when would you think likely to commence then? When would you?
Again, it's planning application next year. That process will take about a year to a year and a half, followed by procurement again for the construction. So but again, all contingent on getting through the various gates and the approval process through the board. Yeah,
because I suppose that's in the pipeline, and if it is, I suppose our local ministers have kind of said it's put in with the programme for government, and
it
also
is,
and the Eastern Garvoe Bridge is that due to start in Sligo, isn't it? How is that in?
Sorry, what's that?
It's the Eastern Garvoe Bridge, in Sligo.
Yeah, I don't think it's ours.
That's
non-national.
Yeah.
Okay, it's non-national. Sorry about that. And the other one is the N17.
The N17, we are at the moment, the County Council, Sligo County Council is procuring consultants to fully develop the design on that. There is an emerging preferred route identified, so the next step is the more detailed design on the route option that has been selected.
So how many years would you be looking at that between all the stages?
These schemes take a long time to get through. You know, there's a lot of surveying work has to be done. They can take it's going to take a number of years. The environmental surveys will take 2 years minimum.
But
Anyway.
the money has been ring fenced for this.
Yeah,
budget,
no,
hasn't it?
it's a
It's in the
firm
programme for
scheme.
government
It's
there.
under the NDP, so you know it will take the length of time though to get it to the point that it'd be ready to apply for planning.
And is there any way that could be fast tracked because the Western Rail corridor isn't coming up as far as Sligo? Is there any way that there could be? Would there be any consideration that could go ahead of it?
Thank you.
It'll be delivered as quickly as they're able to deliver it, I suppose. You know, and tick all the boxes on it.
Thank you.